Hello, it's your boy Mine. I'm going to be talking about the World Cup 2022. That's going to start November the 18th. So less than a month away. It's going to be mental. I'm going to be talking about all the groups in the World Cup. I'm going to be talking about many things. It's going to be an exciting video, lads. It's going to be an exciting video, mates. Oh, girls, just watch this video. It's going to be good. So let me say, first up, Group A, Qatar, Ecuador, Senegal, Netherlands. An enthralling group with much more competitiveness than you would think. In regards to Qatar, I think they're going to get knocked out. A lot of people think they're shit, so to say, but they're not as shit as you might think. They actually won the Asian Cup in 2019. They beat Japan 3-1 in the final, and before that they beat South Korea. So unbelievably, Qatar aren't as shit as you might think, and they're hosting the tournament, so they might do better than expected. But you know what? I still think they're finishing bottom. That's what I think. Next one on. In regards to Ecuador, well, Ecuador, you're very talented. They were third in South American qualifying throughout most of it. They ended up finishing fourth, which was the last available qualifying place, but they can get some good results. They can play some good football. They've got talented players, and they're kind of underrated. Maybe one of the other teams, Senegal and Netherlands, are overrated, and Ecuador are in fact underrated. But the one thing I have against Ecuador is they have a horrible away record. And guess what? Guess what, mates? They're away from home because they're playing in Qatar in the World Cup in 2022. They're not hosting it in Ecuador, lads. So they're going to finish third. That's what I'm feeling, I think. Next on Senegal. Senegal have so many talented players. Oh, Sadio Mane, Edward Mendy, and that guy that plays for Napoli. What was his name? Oh, he actually plays for Chelsea now. Koulibaly. So many talented players, so many bright prospects, and they won the African Cup of Nations. They beat Egypt on penalties, and guess what? When they qualified for the World Cup, who did they beat again? Who? Guess, lads. They beat Egypt again on penalties. That's what happened. Senegal are talented, and they could spring a surprise in the round of 16, even if it's England they're facing. So don't count them out if they're finishing second. But lads, I still hope that England are favourites against Senegal. Next one up, Netherlands. The Orange, their classical team, so exciting. Total football. Johan Cruyff, Marco van Basten, Robin van Persie, Klaas-Jan Huntelaar, such a legendary team throughout the years, but guess what? They've never won the World Cup. They've reached 3 World Cup finals, never won it. Oh lads, they've been unlucky. They did win the Euros in 1988, but I don't think that matters. I don't think that matters to a team like Netherlands, and some people are saying Netherlands have a chance. Some people are saying Netherlands can be dark horses. And guess what? I think I agree with them. This could be Netherlands' chance to push it, and they've been out of it for a while. But you know what Netherlands are like: out of it for a while, then they reach the semi-finals, maybe even a final. That's what Netherlands do. So that's Group A out of the way. So in Group A, I'm predicting Netherlands first. I think Senegal second, but I wouldn't be surprised if Senegal upset it a bit and finish first. If Senegal play worse than expected, it could be Ecuador finishing second. And don't be surprised if Qatar even get a win and a draw in the group stage. I forgot to mention they also reached the semi-finals of the CONCACAF. They did try playing in the Copa America, but they didn't do as well. They got knocked out in the group stages. They had 2 close games. They drew one, lost one, and they got absolutely smashed in the other game. But that's South America for you, absolutely mental. And to be fair, remember in 2016 in the Copa America, Centenario, when lads, Chile beat Mexico 7-0. 7-0. I know Chile won the Copa America twice in a row, 2 times consecutively in 2015 and 2016. But that's absolutely interesting and curious to know about. That's just what it is about, and that's what it's good to hear. Next time, I'm going to be talking. I'm going to keep talking because next one is Group B. And guess what? Group B has England, mate. And I'm from England, so it was just natural for me to talk about Group B. So guess what? Who's in England's group? It's England, Wales, USA and Iran. a thriller of a group. The England-Wales rivalry, the British Isles. Wales talked mad shit in Euro 2016. They finished above England. They reached the semi-finals, and Bale, probably, arguably, the best British player in the last 15 years. He talked some smack, so that's interesting. He might possibly be the best British player ever. That's what a few people say, but I think that's going too far personally. And then we've got USA. Some people, believe it or not, think USA are going to really connect it. They're going to fulfill their potential. They're going to do so well that they're going to reach the semi-finals in 2026. And remember, lads, USA are hosting 2026, but it doesn't look like USA are performing to their potential. They look a bit like England, to be honest, and we know what England's like, underperforming. But we'll see. And then in the other bracket, we've got Iran, and Iran actually have been getting good results. They drew with Senegal, and they beat Uruguay, and a lot of people would think Uruguay and Senegal are better teams than Iran, so that just keeps being interesting. I know England have been atrocious in the Nations League. I know that they haven't performed well, but you know what? I think they're going to finish first in the group. I really do. I think they're going to finish first in the group, and I think for the very first time, believe it or not, they're going to beat USA in the World Cup. I know we've only faced them twice before, but one of them was back in 1950, but we're going to win this time. We're going to beat USA. Wales game will be very interesting for England, so will Iran. In that regard, it's just so many talented players. Of course, England have the edge over Wales. If Wales play like they did against Ukraine, I'd still bet on England to win. You've got to remember, lads, Wales got relegated from the Nations League as well. Like, the first two games they had an excuse because of the World Cup qualifying playoffs. That wasn't an excuse for the rest of the games. They got relegated like England from the Nations League. But I'm not sure who I'd give the edge off. I'd give the edge to Wales over USA. I'm not really sure about Iran. I was thinking Iran were going to finish last. Iran just have some crisis right now with the protests over women's rights, but look at the results Iran's getting. So I'm not sure what's going on. At the moment, it could be very well. It could be England first, Wales or Iran second, and USA could be second to fourth. So, but I got to make a concrete prediction. So I guess I'll go England first, Wales second, because I have a soft spot for them. They play some good attacking stuff sometimes. They've got Gareth Bale and Aaron Ramsey, and I thought they were a bit underrated, the Euros that just gone past. Next up, I'll have Iran, and I'll have USA at bottom. I know that might be a surprise. I know a few people might be saying USA finishing first, but I don't think so, actually. So, who's getting through? England and Wales. You know what that means, lads? You know what that means? Well, I predicted Netherlands to finish first, and they're going to be facing Wales. And then I predicted England to finish first in their group, so they'll be facing Senegal, who finished second in Group A. So an exciting encounter, especially considering there's quite a few Senegalese players playing in England and the top 5 leagues in Europe. It's just so curious, it's just so interesting. And now we've got to move on. Group C, Argentina, Saudi Arabia, Mexico and Poland. Well, it's easy, lads. Argentina are reaching some kind of zenith at the moment. They've won the Copa America. They recently won the Finalissimo against Italy. That was the winners of the European Championship versus the winners of Copa America. Argentina won that 3-0 in an exciting and important match. Lautaro Martinez was important. Messi is as good as ever. They've got just so many good players. You know, Argentina are just too strong. Mexico and Poland. So I'm going to put Argentina first. Second, it's a toss-up between Mexico and Poland, isn't it? Some people say Mexico had a weak point. This is the weakest they've ever been. They weren't too impressive in qualifying. They were like distantly, some people felt, worse than USA and Canada. But you know what? Mexico always reached the round of 16. They've done it ever since 1994, and I back them. Because some people still have high expectations for Poland, but what have Poland done in national tournaments recently? They have Lewandowski, but I feel like that's a bit like, that's it. So a lot of people are actually saying Argentina, then Poland, then Mexico, but I'm saying Argentina, Mexico, Poland, and I wouldn't say that's surprising. I got to go with history. I got to go to Phoenix. Mexico always raised their game. I think in 2014 they were atrocious in World Cup qualifying. They had to go through the playoffs, but guess what? That's probably the best World Cup I've seen Mexico play. Mexico are just kind of that team. They raised their level for the occasion, at least in the group stage, but not in the round of 16. So that sums up Mexico. In regards to Saudi Arabia actually done well. They did great in Asian qualification. They finished above Japan and Australia, and a lot of people think maybe those teams could be better than Saudi Arabia, especially Japan. Japan are very talented, but Saudi Arabia did finish above them. All their players are unknown, they play domestically, and you just got to keep that in mind. But Saudi Arabia might not do as badly as they've done in other World Cups because they've been notorious for getting some bad results. There was that one World Cup where they actually did well, 1994. They scored a Maradona-esque goal against Belgium in that tournament. They performed well on the group stage, so watch that clip. It was pretty good. So my predictions for Group C is Argentina first, Mexico second, Poland third, and Mexico fourth. So that's what I'm expecting. Next group on, Group D. So in Group D, we have France, we have Denmark, we have Australia, and we have Tunisia. A lot of people are saying France are the second or third favourites on paper. Some people are saying France are are they outright favourites for the World Cup. Some people are saying their squad is stronger than 2018. I've heard a lot of people say they're a bit stronger than England, but they did poorly in the Euros. They gave away a 3-1 lead, and Switzerland deservedly came back against them, made it 3-3, won on penalties, and they were bloody lucky not to get relegated in the Nations League in a decently weaker group than England. They were nearly as bad as us in an easier group. France are a disaster. They might sort it out in the World Cup. They might prove me wrong. They might reach the semi-finals at least, but at the moment France are dodgy. So you know what? I'll have France finishing second. They're not finishing first. You know who I think will be finishing first? I think who will finish first is Denmark. Denmark are a great team. They're talented. They reached the semi-finals of the Euros for a reason. Some people say a few of the big teams didn't show up in the Euros, but Denmark are an excellent team. They're absolutely underrated, and they did well in the Nations League. They beat France and drew against France, so that just gives you an idea. So France and Denmark have faced each other a lot historically, but that's what happened in the Nations League. So I'm backing Denmark to at least get a draw against France and win the other game. So in my opinion, Denmark with their players like Damsgaard and Christian Eriksen, and Mignolet, they're going to do it. They're going to finish first. That's what I really think. They're going to finish first in their group. In regards to the other teams, are Australia and Tunisia. Unfortunately for the Aussies, because I live in Australia now, I'm an Australian citizen, I think they're going to finish last. They weren't too convincing in World Cup qualification. They were distantly behind Saudi Arabia and Japan, not even close. I know they easily beat United Arab Emirates, but it's United Arab Emirates. They were tougher than maybe a bit expected, but Australia were always going to beat them, really. That's what you would feel. They're always going to beat them, really. Then they beat Peru. Peru's a massive victory. South American team, but Peru clearly underperformed that game, but fair play to Australia. They were the better team in the 90 minutes, and in the extra time they were still quite good in one of the halves. They won the penalty shootout with the epic wiggle Andrew Redmayne, but they're going out. This is a weak point for the Aussies. This is even weaker than the 2014 and 2018 lineups, and it doesn't come close to comparing to the Golden Generation. The Golden Generation with Emerton, Kuhl, Cahill, Schwarzer, so many good players on that team, but it's just not going to happen. It's not happening for the Australians, the Socceroos. I'm sorry. You're finishing last, you're out. I'm going to back Tunisia to finish third. Tunisia always play well against teams of their level, or a bit better than their level. Even if Tunisia have only like 40% possession or less than that against the Aussies. They're a team that can grind out a shithouse 1-0 victory. I don't see where the goals are coming from for Australia, unfortunately, at the moment. Tunisia actually got some good results. They got some good results against South Korea. They beat them 2-0. I think they beat Japan 3-0. I know they got smashed by Brazil. They really got smashed. It was like 5-1 or 6-1 recently, but I still back Tunisia in the World Cup. I don't think they're going to get smashed in any of their games. So, well, at least not like that, basically. So the standings in Group B for me. So Denmark first, France second, then third is Tunisia, and then fourth is Australia. Next group on. Group E. I'm going to go for Germany. Germany have been getting great results. They've gotten a lot better since the Euros. The new coach has sorted it out for them. They played some lovely stuff. I think the pinnacle of the Nations League performance is when they beat Italy 5-2 and then enthralling a counter. I don't think they're going to win it. I think the 3-3 performance against England showed that Germany are still a floor team. They still got a way to go, but they could still reach the semi-finals. And they're still strong enough to finish top of their group. And it's the Germans. The Germans have a killer instinct, and they usually overperform in tournaments relative to expectations compared to England that underperform relative to expectations. So Germany are going to finish first, and I would back them to win against Spain. Maybe just a tight game, maybe 1-0, 2-1. To finish second is actually harder than I think. Germany have problems up front with their strikers, and Spain have a problem up front with their strikers, but I've got to go with Spain. Spain were really good in the Euros. They reached the semi-finals. They were dodgy on their way to reaching the semi-finals, but they showed glimpses of their potential, glimpses of their talent. They showed that they were a good side, and I think they actually dominated against Italy, but guess what? They lost to Italy. Italy were just a more professional team. It was like Chelsea-esque Jose Mourinho performance by Italy, which really showed their tournament strength, which Spain didn't seem to have. I'd still back Spain to finish second in the group, actually. But it's closer than you think with Japan. I think it could swing either way, actually, with Japan, but I'd still back Spain like, let's say, 65% of the time. Then Japan. I think Japan are going to finish third in this group, but they could finish second. They could even beat Germany. Japan are a team that are absolutely professional. They can raise their game, and they showed in 2018 when they were 2-0 up. They were deservedly 2-0 up in the 2018 round of 16 knockout rounds against Belgium with 20 minutes left. It looked like they were cruising through. It looked like they were going to play Brazil, but they kept on attacking, which is kind of unlike Japan. They kept on attacking, and Belgium came back hard. It was heartbreaking for the Japanese, but Japan were a bit unlucky because they're a pot 3 team, and USA and Mexico, who I think are personally worse than Japan, are pot 2 teams. So my condolences, Japan, for being in the same group as Germany and Spain. I don't think it's impossible for you to reach the round of 16. And if you reach the round of 16, getting out of a group like that, you could reach the quarterfinals as well. But you're not getting any further, because I think you'd be facing potentially Brazil, and that's the best case dream scenario. So, well, that's it for you, lads. Costa Rica have the legendary goalkeeper Keylor Navas, who's reached 3 consecutive Champions League finals in a row. But this isn't the strongest team for Costa Rica. I don't really believe they just edged out New Zealand, a team that was a lot worse than them in the world rankings. They were poor in the first half of qualifying for CONCACAF, but they were absolutely beast-like for their standards in the second half. But being beast-like in CONCACAF isn't enough for the World Cup. They're finishing bottom. They're just unlucky that they were in such a strong group. Even Japan's going to be a bit terrifying for Costa Rica. I guess best case scenario is they beat Japan and finish third, but I think even Japan are decently too good for them. So Costa Rica finishing bottom. That's just what I think, and that's just what I feel. Next group on, Group F, and guess who's in Group F? Canada, Morocco, Croatia, and the other team is Belgium. That's who is in that group. Yes, that's in the group. Group F. So, in regards to this is probably one of the most balanced groups in the World Cup. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be enthralling. I can see 2-2 games happening in this group. I can see 3-3 games. I think a 2-1 game in this group is going to be wrong. I just have high expectations for it. It might not be the best quality-wise, but I think it's going to be good. I underestimated Croatia, like a lot of people did after the Euros. Like, it seems like a weak point for the Croatian team. The golden generation that reached the World Cup final in 2018, when some of the nations, let's face it, did underperform, has grown older, and it looked like Croatia were declining. They didn't perform too spectacularly in the Euros, but they've actually replaced their players well. From what I've heard, Croatia have replaced their players well in every single position except the striker position, which is Mandzukic. I think that's Mandzukic. Croatia are strong, but I think they're going to finish first. I was actually quite confident at putting them first, but Belgium have Thibaut Courtois. Courtois has actually been performing well at Real Madrid, and he can make those annoying saves that are crucial. But I think Croatia are finishing first. They were excellent in the Nations League, and they showed not to be messed with. I think they actually reached the Final Four in the Nations League. And you know what? Croatia are finishing first in their group, so that's what I'm saying. Who's finishing second in the group? Belgium. Belgium are finishing second in the group. Belgium are just too good to finish lower. Belgium never seem to perform to quite the expectations, but performing like this should still mean they finish second. They could still give a terrifying game against everyone in the group, obviously. It's not over for Belgium yet. Like, if they fulfill their potential 110%, they can still easily reach the semi-finals. I remember in the World Cup in 2018, the only performance where Belgium fulfilled their expectations. They outclassed Brazil in a masterclass tactical performance to win 2-0. They went easy in the second half, but Belgium can play stuff at times, but basically the rest of the time they haven't fulfilled their potential. They haven't shown why they are Belgium, why there was expectations for them to win, especially with the world-class performance that they had. But Belgium, I still respect you. You're still reaching around the 60. Who's finishing third? Well, I've got to go for Canada to finish third. Canada have shown what they're made of. Canada finished top of a group and included USA and Mexico. They beat USA and Mexico home and away. They easily smashed it to qualify. They're a bit unlucky to be in pot 4, but I guess that's because of past history. They also reached the semi-finals of the CONCACAF. They seem to be going strength from strength. They have a few players in Europe. They have Alphonso Davies that plays for Bayern Munich. Canada can play some exciting stuff. I think they'll go for it, and I think they'll succeed against one of the teams at least, and I think that will be enough to take them third. But they're still too inexperienced. It's still too raw. It's still too early for Canada. I think they'll improve. I think they'll go strength from strength, but I think that's about it just in regards to that. Who's going to finish fourth? It's Morocco, unfortunately. I had high expectations for Morocco after the 2018 World Cup. I talked about it in a previous video, but Morocco getting outclassed and smashed 3-0 by USA shows that they're way behind, and I think they sacked the manager before the tournament. They still don't have Hakim Ziyech playing for them, and I just don't think it's just going to work out for Morocco. They just haven't sorted themselves out. It's kind of like Egypt in 2018 when they were just making the wrong mistakes. Egypt made mistakes with the sponsors. They just cared about the publicity. I'm not sure. I don't think Morocco has much of a shit show as Egypt were, like especially with the training camp situation that happened because they were way too far from the matches in Egypt. But I think Morocco are just too far done. They've sacked the manager with not enough notice. It's not good, lads. It's not good. Next group on. Let me say next group on. Next group on. Brazil, Serbia, Switzerland and Cameroon. It's going to be absolutely mental. First up, Cameroon. Finished third in the Nations League. One of the top teams in Africa. They've won the African Cup of Nations 5 times and they reached the World Cup quarterfinals in 1990. But guess what, lads? They're finishing bottom of this group. They can't even compare to Switzerland or Serbia. Cameroon are a good team. They have some good qualities, but this is a team that struggled against Comoros in the African Cup of Nations. Comoros were literally playing their left back in goal because of COVID rules. They changed the COVID rules after the group stage, so they were forced to play the left back in goal instead of their third choice keeper. So that's how bad it was for Comoros. And if you don't know where Comoros is, they're tiny islands near Madagascar, and they never qualified for African Cup of Nations for all this performance. Cameroon did show that they were worth it though. I think they were like 3-1 down and they won 4-3 in an enthralling counter. They do have some mental strength. To finish third in the African Cup of Nations, they showed some mental strength. To qualify for the World Cup, they showed some mental strength again. They beat Algeria. It looked like Algeria were going to go through on aggregate. They made it 3-2. So no, Algeria made it 3-2 or something along those lines. But Cameroon scored in the 120th minute to seal their way through in the most exciting and dramatic way possible on away goals. They got rid of their away goals last year in the Champions League, just in case you didn't know. So just giving you a heads up. Next one on after this is going to be Serbia. Serbia have so many beasting players. They're an interesting team. They have Mitrovic, they have Milojevic. Oh, sorry, I butchered his pronunciations, but he's a great player. They do have some talented players, and they did very well in the Nations League. But you guess what? I have a soft spot for Switzerland, and I think Serbia are going to be finishing first. I've heard one or two YouTubers legitimately saying Serbia are proper dark horses and they're going to reach the semi-finals, but I still don't see them getting out of the group stage. Maybe if Switzerland underperform and they have a great World Cup, they could reach the quarterfinals, but that's it for me. Next one on, Switzerland. Switzerland are a team that always perform to their level. They're always a team with good potential, and they're always a team that can do well and reach a knockout round of a competition. They're a team that are solid, they're a team that are respectable, and for a country that's so landlocked, so small, but they punch above their weight, so don't be surprised if Switzerland can do one or two surprises, but I think they're going to finish second in their group. Not really surprising, but that's what I think. That is what I think. And first of all, I can't go against the Seleção. I can't go against Brazil. I can't go against the 5 times champions, the favourites for the World Cup. They have so many talented players. They're just on a different level. Neymar, Thiago Silva, Rafinha, Edison, they're a beast team with beast quality. They're going to easily smash the group stage, even if they underperform ultimately, which I feel is unlikely. They're going to be reaching the semi-finals at least. They are not going to fail, I think, in this World Cup. So they're finishing first in the group. That's what I think. That's my group stage performance. So in that group is going to be Brazil first. Then it's going to be Switzerland second, Serbia third, and Cameroon fourth. So that's what I think. Last group now. Last group ever. It's getting close to the end, boys. You can take a deep breath. That's what you can do. That's what you can do. Next group. Let me say it now. Dramatic effect. Next group. Portugal, Uruguay, Ghana, and South Korea. Guess who's finishing first, lads? It's Portugal. Portugal were excellent in the Nations League. They were poor in the Euros, but in the Nations League performance, they showed what they were worth. And I think they should have been in the Final Four. They should have made the semi-finals. They were unlucky to lose 1-0 in the final game in a match that draw would have taken them to the last 4. Portugal are going to finish first in their group. I didn't think Portugal were going to do much in this World Cup. I thought they were originally going to finish behind Uruguay, because Uruguay are a great team, and I genuinely believe they still have quality. But Portugal finishing first in the group. Next up, Uruguay are going to finish second. Uruguay were the team that finished behind Brazil and Argentina, and not many teams in Europe could finish third, let alone in the top 2, which is Brazil and Argentina. So that's the quality we're talking about for country Uruguay with just 3.3 million people. I'm sorry, Ghana. I know you put some European players. I know you've recruited well, but you're not getting revenge against Uruguay. In fact, Uruguay might win. It's good that you beat a powerhouse. It's good that you showed massive improvement in the World Cup players. You beat South Africa, who were fairly big. Apparently that was a controversial match though. And then you beat Nigeria are favourites, and Nigerians were cocky on TV. I saw the interviews, but Ghana, you're not going to do it. I think you're actually going to finish last in your group. And then South Korea, I think are going to finish third. They have Son Heung-min. They can play as a team. South Korea are a disciplined unit and are capable of the occasional surprise, which they showed in 2018 when they beat Germany in that historic victory that knocked them out, and that had the Mexicans celebrating like mental. Watch the clip online. They actually caused a seismic earthquake on the Richter scale, and they went to the South Korean embassy to celebrate with the South Korean lads. Because of them in 2018, Mexico reached around the 16th. So that's what I'm saying. That's what all my predictions are. First, Portugal. Second, Uruguay. Third, South Korea. Fourth, Ghana. I'm sorry, Africa. I haven't been expecting you to do well, apart from Senegal. But that's what I think. That's what I do, and that's what I believe. I wear my heart on my sleeve. I make these bold predictions, and I am your YouTube man. I am your football guy. I bless thee. I bless myself on that Christmas tree behind me. I bless myself on the cross, and that Easter bunny, the legend. Have a nice day, lads. Have a beautiful life. Enjoy the video. Enjoy what you're doing. Have a nice World Cup next month. Thank you.